Have you recently, or not so recently, sustained a concussion, or maybe one of your patients? Well, then this video is for you. I'm Melissa Biscardi. I'm a concussion clinician and researcher. I've been working with concussion for over 10 years, and my PhD is literally in concussion rehabilitation, which not too many people can say. And this is Alfred, and he is always helping me in my videos. Today, we're going to talk about why your concussion might look different from someone else's, why your recovery might look different, or maybe it looks different than a previous concussion you've had. And then I'm going to review some ways that you can support your recovery no matter where you are in your recovery. So let's start with concussion, right? The mechanism. How did you get your concussion? Well, an impact happened either to the body or right to the head that caused a shaking of your brain inside the skull. And then this started the metabolic cascade. And the metabolic cascade is kind of like the inflammatory process that happens if you have an ankle sprain or you hit your elbow. It has to happen for healing. We can't trick it. We don't want to stop it. It's the natural process. And this happens over weeks, not days. So even if you're feeling better after 7 days, this process is still happening under the radar. What is it? Very well documented. And initially, there's a huge release of excitatory neurotransmitters, and this might be manifested as feeling dazed or seeing stars at the time of impact. And then the next part is more gradual. And this is one reason why some people don't realize they have a concussion for a couple of days. During this phase, there's chemicals going out of the cell that shouldn't be, into the cell that shouldn't be, or at least not at the rates that they are, and then little pumps that are just trying to create homeostasis. They're trying to get the brain back into the state that it's supposed to be in. So lots of energy is being used, but the problem is not enough energy is being produced. So there is this double deficit, and this is one reason why you might feel so fatigued. So this has happened. Now, why is it that some people seem to be concussed more easily than others or have a more complex or longer recovery? Well, there are many factors, right? Every concussion is different, but here are a few things that you might want to consider. One, we can talk about force. How much force is required to cause a concussion, in theory? So the research says 65 or more G's of force to cause a concussion. What does that even mean? Well, plopping in a chair is 10 G's of force. Sneezing, around 3 G's of force. And then the force to sustain a whiplash is around 8 G's of force. So just think of that in relation to 65. What is a problem with that number? Well, one, most research is done on young, healthy athletes, and not everyone who sustains a concussion fits that profile. Another problem is in the research, some people sustained a concussion at that level of force, but not everyone. So even in the research, it's not one size fits all. Other factors include what else is going on in your life? What else is going on in your body? We know that a history of migraines, other hormonal conditions such as PCOS or hypothyroid, if you have ADHD, anxiety, or depression, all of these can influence your risk of concussion and your recovery trajectory. Also think about stress. If someone has just been fired from their job in the morning and then they sustain a concussion in the afternoon, the state of their nervous system and their body is going to be different than someone who had a really relaxing morning, walked their dog, and then sustains a concussion. So a concussion is a full body injury. We need to treat it as such. And so how are we going to support your recovery once it's happened? Well, I like to think of the concussion recovery pyramid, right? There are the foundational pieces. Sleep is number one. We heal in our sleep. So anything we can do to support sleep is very helpful. I like to use Yoga Nidra. There are a number of Yoga Nidra videos on this channel, and they were all made specifically for individuals with concussion. So I'll link one here, but feel free to check any of them out. Turning the devices off at least a couple hours before bed, not eating too close before bed. There are many different things you can do for sleep hygiene. And then nutrition. We want the fuel going in to be supporting recovery. So healthy fats, fish, avocado. We want protein, maybe chicken, other fats, coconut, avocado, if I didn't say it already, and carbs such as fruits, vegetables. You know, some people will push back on this, but the truth is, the proof is on the table. If you cut your gluten during recovery, often this is going to help you feel better, help with the brain fog. And then mental health. We need our nervous system to be in a state to support recovery. And so we have the fight or flight, which definitely is going to be ignited at the time of injury, right? It's a stress. Your brain is thinking, oh my gosh, threat, threat, threat. And our brain it hasn't changed. Like our nervous system has not changed, I should say. So our brain doesn't know the difference between a bear chasing us or something falling on the floor and making a sound. The response is threat. And we want to get it out of that state into the rest and digest state, a calm enough state to support healing. Again, you can use the Yoga Nidra or definitely working with someone around recovery. The mental health aspect, counseling is going to be really, really important. So those are the foundational pieces: mental health, mindfulness, sleep, and nutrition. Then we get into the active pieces. And actually, this can start as early as 2 days post-injury, depending on the individual. Definitely want to circle around with your concussion clinician. But sub-symptom threshold exercise, such as a bike, brisk walking, sometimes a jog is tolerated. This is going to support recovery. Again, there's a lot of nuance on that, but we can start moving way earlier than we used to believe. And then we want to work on the neck, ocular motor, or the eyes, vestibular, or balance. This is the terrific triad. And like I said, for whiplash, it's only 8 G's of force. So essentially, every concussion has a degree of neck injury that will need to be addressed. The neck, the eyes, and the balance center, they are connected by different reflexes. And so the neck is really foundational piece to clear up, at least in part, before working on the eyes and the vestibular system. But really, you're going to be working on all of those together in tandem with the appropriate clinicians. And then comes the cognitive piece. So like I said, I like to call it the concussion pyramid. Why did I put cognitive on the top? Well, if you're not getting enough sleep, not getting enough nutrients, your nervous system is in that fight or flight, can't get out of it, and then your neck is in pain, and your eyes are not moving great, your balance is off, there's no energy, there's no resources left for the cognitive piece. No wonder you have brain fog. No wonder you have trouble with your memory or you can't concentrate. Another thing, if your eye movements aren't great, this is going to cause trouble in busy environments, when you're reading. So all of the pieces of recovery fit together in different ways. It's not separate in any way, shape, or form. And it's progressive, depending on you and how you progress through the different pieces. And then finally, returning you to your sport, work, school, all the things you love in a gradual way. And that is what we do at my clinic, Concussion Rehab, and hopefully the clinic you're at. If not, feel free to reach out.